In this video, I interview my client Ben Golden, who owns Golden Tax Relief, a tax planning firm headquartered out of Alabama, serving clients nationwide. And as a result, he was able to generate hundreds of leads, as well as on track to make hundreds of thousands of dollars from our advertising efforts, as you'll see in this video. And if you're looking for a system like this for your firm, then make sure to book a call with my team down below the video. Let's dive in. What's up, everybody? It is Daniel here with Wealthy Clients, and we have one of our awesome clients on here today, Ben Golden, who has also recently become a published author, which we'll touch on the end here. But Ben, welcome on.
Hey, Daniel, I really appreciate being here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So tell everybody a little bit about what you do, your firm, and who you guys serve.
Absolutely. So, we're a tax planning firm. We help business owners save money in taxes. We're a little bit different from most because we have a sister company that's also a tax resolution firm. So we do a little bit of both, and makes us very unique in the industry.
Awesome. What was the problem you had prior to partnering with us?
So, in moving from the tax resolution side to the tax planning side, I wanted to do more planning because I wanted to be able to add value to clients. And I had never really successfully, that's the key, I had never really successfully had a good marketing outcome when it came to tax planning. So I was very skeptical in coming in and being like, okay, is this really going to work? Or is this somebody that's going to say, oh, we can do all these things and get the same outcome? And that was one of the worries that I had. So in going in with marketing, I was like, is this really going to work? And can we make it work?
Yeah, and your marketing director, Leah, even told me after we started getting the campaigns, because it did take a little bit of time before we really struck it. I think it was about 60 days in when we were making the tweaks. But I remember Leah told me, she was like, yeah, I had no faith in you. Like, I did not believe that it was going to work.
Yeah, I mean, because you hear all these people say, oh, well, we can do all these wonderful things and great things, and then it's a big flop. And one of the things I was impressed about is, you know, this is the initial strategy, but when we have the initial strategy, there's going to be tweaks and movements and all these kind of things as we move forward. And, that's the thing that I really appreciated because I had been told that before, that we're going to start this plan. And once the plan starts, we're going to make sure that we tweak and move it as it goes. Because if we do that, that's going to get us a better outcome because we look at the analytics and what the market is telling us as opposed to just a big guess. You know what I mean?
Totally. Totally. So I'm curious, just because you'd been burned before, it sounds like, and
Absolutely.
it sounds like you'd gotten some time to lick your wounds, but I guess what made you want to partner with us after the multiple failures you had with other companies?
In the world of entrepreneurship, sometimes you have to jump off the cliff, and you are gonna scrub the edge a little bit, get a cut and a broken limb or something like that. But that's not the thing that's going to stop you. I believe that we have value that we can bring to ultimately the client, and I'm a very tenacious person, so I like the fact that you are too, and that your company is too, and it's really an all-in attitude when it comes to you and your company. And I appreciate that because, you know, it's not going to work the very first iteration that you have. And going into that, that's one of the things that you sort of set my expectations on was, hey, look, we're going to have to make some changes and tweak it as we go because we've got to look at what the market says and what the market likes, and we'll move forward based off of the analytics that we get as opposed to just wild guesses. And that's what I believe that I felt like I got in the past is just, a wild guess here and yon, as opposed to, this is what the market's telling us. This is what I've seen from other clients. And that's what I appreciate because you specifically niche down into us as a market. And so now that you see what works, you can use that among multiple clients.
Totally. So was there anything else about the service in particular that helped you?
Absolutely. I mean, I thought that I would get leads, but what I did not think about is that and I got leads, but what I would like to tell people is it's not just the lead, it's the level of quality of the lead that we got. It's not simply that we got leads. We got hundreds and hundreds of leads, but the people that came in and said, "Hey, I want more information based off of what we said," ultimately they were so super qualified. All we had to do is warm them up and get that meeting with them, and then sort of lead them down the garden path. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And and our numbers were absolutely pretty good. I mean, um, we had over about 55 to 60% of the people show up. So it's not just do you have a qualified lead, do they show up for the meeting? And then from the meeting, do you get to close the deal? So we had, let's call it 60% of the people that show up, which is an unbelievably huge number. And then we closed over 50% of the deals for the people that did show up. So everybody else, highly qualified, ultimately go into a not yet category for us.
Yeah, nurture. Yeah, and I remember Leah, she emailed me one day and was like, "Hey, that guy that came in 4 months ago that we talked to and never did anything, like he came out of the woodworks. He wants to start."
Absolutely. So it's not just about, um, having that conversation or somebody not showing up or saying not yet for me. It's about making sure that you have a process in place to nurture that lead to make sure that, hey, if it's a not yet, then maybe it will be down the road. Because of what we do and the value that we bring, if they do nothing, if the client does nothing, they're going to have more pain in the process because ultimately they're going to have to pay more tax. And so when they have that pain, they're going to be like, "Oh, well, I heard about. I remember I talked to Golden. Maybe we need to talk to them again." And
Yeah.
then they see that email come back through, and they're like, "Yep," or that text come back through, and they're like, "Yeah, that's what I need to talk to."
Can you touch on, do you remember the story that you told me about the in-person client that came through the ads? I think you were in San Francisco.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a gentleman that saw the ad and talked to him, went through the whole conversation with him. And he was like, "Look, I'm a little bit old school. I'd love to just meet you." And I said, "Well, I'm actually speaking in San Francisco." He lived in San Francisco, so literally came to meet me, ultimately to become a client, and we're going to help him save, tens of thousands of dollars in taxes because not only because he thought, "Oh, I saw this ad." But it's just an ad. This person isn't real. They really can't do what they say. And then we actually get to meet. Now we're headquartered in Alabama. For him to say, "What do you mean you're coming out here to San Francisco?" And I say, "Well, yeah, I typically speak nationally. We're going to be there. Let's have a conversation. Let's sit down and have some breakfast." And that's exactly what we did.
Yeah. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you met with him, wasn't he like, "Dude, you are a celebrity. Like everywhere I go, I see you on."
Everywhere I go, you just follow me everywhere I go. And I'm just like, yeah, we've got a lot going on. What he doesn't know is inside your secret sauce is, they see us in multiple points in multiple places because they've actually gone through, looked at the ad, seen the ad, either gone to our website or something like that, and they get sort of caught in the web,
Yeah.
literally.
So as a result, how has this impacted your business?
So, we've had multiple plans and multiple people say yes. We've had more than a 50% sign-on rate once they have the meeting with us. And then after they sign on, we go in to help them save more and more money. Had one client that came through, we were able to save him, I think it was about $50,000 in taxes moving forward. But when I started looking at his old tax returns, I was able to save him another $90,000 for the past 2 years in taxes and reclaim that money as well. So, not only did we get the initial engagement to help him save $50,000 in taxes, We got a secondary engagement to help him save another $90,000 in taxes. And we got a third engagement to prepare the returns for the past 2 years. And we're going to get a fourth engagement to prepare the returns moving forward as well. So it's not just the one. Um, so the dollar spend on the ad is not just for that one tax plan that we did, it's for the lifetime of the client. And
Yeah.
so when you look at it from that perspective, for that one client, we're able to save him literally $150,000 in taxes over a couple of years, be able to reclaim money for him, and ultimately we are like a huge success for him, and he loves us now, singing our praises. And it's the lifetime value of that client that um, is going to be the fruit from the tree of the marketing that we did.
Yeah. And that fruit also plants other seeds with friends and family, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. So I'm really big into referrals, and you never get a referral unless you ask.
Yeah.
So I continually ask, hey, I know that we were able to save you some money. Um, Business owners hang out with business owners. You think you could tell 3 or 4 people about us and your story? Because if people hear your story, they're going to want to work with us.
Yeah. Big time. That's awesome. Where do you feel like your business or your marketing and client acquisition would be if you didn't take action on this?
Yeah, so we have done a lot on the referral side, and we get a lot of referrals, and it's a grind, Daniel. It is a grind because you've got to create the relationship, and then you've got to nurture the relationship, and then you've got to follow up the relationship, and it's all about that relationship. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, right? Until you add 400 people in that you're trying to create a relationship with, and use that relationship and make that relationship, and it becomes a true grind for the business owner. And um, you know marketing through you, I've been able to reclaim quite a bit of my time.
Nice. And I think you also mentioned, because it's not just referral partnerships, but you do a lot of manual labor marketing. In other words, you're going and doing those speaking events and presentations that you mentioned too, right?
I do. I speak usually 6 to 8 times a year, typically. So, there's a lot of time, energy, effort put into not only the relationships with the people that refer to us, but also in creating new relationships as well. The good thing about, the digital marketing is it goes directly to the client as opposed to me going to another professional and then the professional bringing a client to us. So it goes directly to the client. That's really the B2C is where I want to be, because there's less work, energy, effort on our side as a team, as opposed to, you know, having to have the credentials and reputation to get scheduled, and then having to search it out, and then having to go and having to set up, and then having to speak, and having to spend, 14, 16-hour days talking to people to get them to know, like, and trust you so they can refer clients to you. So it goes further and further sort of down the road there. You know what I mean?
Totally. Totally. So if somebody's on the fence about engaging our firm, what would you say to them?
Somebody's on the fence about engaging your firm, Daniel, I would tell you jump, because number one, unless you take action, there will be no reaction. Okay. So um, Daniel's company is the right company that you should choose to help you market. And the reason is because the proof is in the pudding. Um, you know, I know that we will add hundreds of thousands of dollars due to the marketing that you've been able to help us with. And I know that if I put in the work to do the things that you say that we need to do, and I was like, look, you want me to do what? When? How? And so I did what I was told. And then from me saying, okay, well, I don't know if that's what we need to do, but yes, sir, because I jumped and because I said, let's get in, let's get it done, because I had, that dedication and listened to the things that you said, the outcome is going to be phenomenal for us, or the outcome is phenomenal for us.
Well, Ben, thanks so much for coming on here with me. It's been a pleasure chatting with you as always. And for anybody, like I mentioned at the beginning, who hasn't got your book, I'm going to do a shameless plug for you here. Tell us a little bit about the new book that you put out.
Absolutely. The art of tax planning, advanced secret strategies for business owners, came out a couple weeks ago. And
You guys hit #1, didn't you?
yeah, we did. Amazon #1. So I'm really excited about that. And, it took me a couple years to write. And I'm really excited. I never thought that I would be able to do anything like this. And I'm excited about being able to do it. I'm excited about being able to help people. I'm a big believer in abundance. I believe that I should have the attitude of helping people at all times, because I don't believe in scarcity, right? I believe that there's more than enough to go around from either myself or colleagues that I have. I don't really believe in competitors. I believe in having colleagues, because there's more than enough clients. Just because Daniel's helping me doesn't mean he can't help you. There's more than enough clients. I have a specialized niche. You have a specialized niche. He can help you get the clients in order for you to be able to help them. And that's what it's all about. I've heard multiple times from multiple people that there's only about 5% of us truly proactive tax planners out there. So, proactive tax planning means that you put the strategy in place and you implement the strategy as well. Because there's not that many of us out there, Daniel can absolutely help you get on the forefront in front of the client. Instead of having more of a B2B, it's absolutely going to be a B2C.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I mean, there's 32 million businesses in the US. 4% of them are making over $1 million a year, which gives you 1.2 million potential prospects. And I don't know any firm that can take on 1.2 million clients in 1 year. So there is plenty to go around.
Absolutely. And we've all heard sort of the riches are in the niches, right? A niche down. It is very helpful, because you can add more to your base, and Daniel can actually, instead of it being a shotgun approach and say, oh, we want all business owners. No, no, no. We can actually have a laser guided approach to nail that target exactly where we want to hit it, as opposed to just shooting out there and hoping that something hits. And that's what Daniel will give you.
Appreciate it, Ben. Well, if somebody wants to connect or follow you, where can they find you?
Absolutely. You can check us out at www.goldentaxrelief. You could go on, so that's our website. You could go on Amazon and purchase the book. Every single chapter in the book has a QR code, has a video download as well, talks a little bit about that chapter. So doing a couple things that are new there. My marketing person keeps me sort of on the edge. Plus with Daniel, I'm telling you, you got to be careful that your toes have to grab on, because you're right there on the edge at all times, people. So, or you could give us a call, 844-229-8936.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks. Have a great one.
Hope you got some value from the interview. If you're looking to get results like this for your firm, then make sure to click the button down below and book a call with my team today.